If you're going to be using the Great American Race in your online classroom, or even in person if students are going to be working on devices, it is probably easiest to give students their topic and their numbers through their email. So on these instructions, you will see that you need to create a spreadsheet that includes the words or topics for each of your students and the slide number that they're going to work on. In order to send them an email easily, you are going to use a MailMerge feature called FormMule. And so what you would want to do is have a spreadsheet. Here is a sample that would have the student's email address, last name, first name, their class period, and then a place for their slide and topic number. Now on this spreadsheet, you'll see it has a pre-assigned room name. That's because I have set up a process to export this information from columns A through E from Infinite Campus, our student information system. And I set up this particular filter to create pre-assigned breakout rooms. So it's going to have this extra column if you use that feature. If you're not doing that, just delete this column if you're going to be typing everything in. But I think it will save you a lot of time to just download this from Infinite Campus. You can see I have a sample right here. These are fake names generated from a random name generator with fake email addresses. And if I was using this specifically for breakout rooms, I would type in like the names of the breakout rooms here. Now, if you want to get these from Infinite Campus, in the slides down in the instructions or in the notes section, there are instructions on how to get it from Infinite Campus, and it walks you through that particular process. And then you'll have a spreadsheet that you could use, but you could use it by adding in a column F and G for slide number and topic number. So I have it all sorted by class periods. So I have first, second, and third period. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the slide numbers for my students. And if I continue, if I highlight just the 3, it's only going to give 3s for the rest of them. But if I type in the first few numbers, like 1, 2, 3, I can pull this down until I get to the number of students in that class. I'm going to do the same thing for my second period. Pull this down till I end second period. And then do the same thing to pull it down, and it will give numbers for each of my students. Now, next thing I need to do is put in what are the topics that I want my students to, in this case, use for review. So I'm going to type in all the different topic names, and I want to have at least, I think 33 was my max number of students. So I'm going to have 33 different topics that I'm going to put into these boxes here. All right, so I typed in topics for my first period class. I had 34 students. So all I'm going to do is after I type them in, I'm going to copy them all. And I'm going to paste them in the next period. The next period, I'm going to just delete one of them because I had only 33 students. And then I'm going to paste again into my next period, again, delete, just so I have the number of topics per number of students. Now, since I have this created, I want to send out an email to my students that has the topic and the slide number. Now, I might want to wait to send this to the students like before the class period starts or the day of, so they don't have it too far in advance. But what I'm going to do is not send 100 and something individual emails to students and type them up. That would take forever. So I am going to use a tool called FormMule. And FormMule is something that you would find up in the add-ons up at the top of your spreadsheet. And in my spreadsheet, when I click on add-ons, I already have FormMule added. It's in my list right here. But if you've never used it before, you're going to go to Get Add-ons. And you are going to type in FormMule in the search apps. It happens to be one of the ones that I see right away. And so mine's already installed, but you're going to click on it and it's going to ask you permissions to access your email, to access your Google Drive, to access the content of your spreadsheets. I trust the author of this. This is by New Visions for Public Schools, which is a New York educational facility. I actually know some of the people that created these tools, so you can trust that it's okay if they access your email. They're just using it to allow you to send these mail merged emails. So once you have it added, you're going to go back up to add-ons and FormMule, and then you're going to choose launch. We need to select the sheet that contains my email addresses. My sheet happens to be the one called sample. Yours might have a different name, whatever tab or sheet you're using down at the bottom, but I'm going to choose sample. And I don't want it to be triggered by a particular form response. I'm not using forms in this. This is just a spreadsheet. But I could do a time trigger where I can send it at a particular time. And so I can send a merged email at a particular date and time. And I can type that in right here. And so I can make it like 7 a.m. the day that I'm using it. I am just going to use it as is and send it right away, like right now as I'm showing it to you, and you can do it either way. So I'm not going to use a time trigger, so I'm going to turn that back off. And now, let's see, so I have sample, want to make sure everything's off. And it's not letting me go any farther because I had turned that one on. So let me restart this. FormMule, setup, choose data source. All right, so I have my sample. I have both of these turned off. Now this is bright blue for me, so I can click on it to send. And I'm only going to send one unique email template. If I wanted to do it on a time trigger and I wanted to send different times for different class periods, I could, since I have 3 class periods and I did the time trigger, I could say that I have 3 templates and one of them would go out at one time, another, etc. But I would have to name these templates differently. It's a little more complicated, so I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you are a pro at this. Just for now, I'm just going to use one template. I'm going to leave it at the title as template 1. I'm going to send it for all rows, so it's going to go to all students. This would be if I wanted it to go just to a class period, I would do section schedule period start. That's the name of the column for class period. And then I would type in like period 1. I would type in 1 here, but I'm not doing that. So I'm just going to save template settings because I have one template sending for all rows. And then I need to edit my template. This is where I'm going to write out my email to my students. And so in the to fields, I'm going to click there, and I'm going to click on over here where it says add merge tags, the email address. So it's going to send an email to that particular student. For the subject, I'm going to say like Great American Race, read but do not share. And then in the body, I can give instructions to my students, and I can say like, first I want to give like a heading. So I'm going to say like, good morning or good afternoon or hello, and I want the student first name. So that's this right here. Notice that up here, email address is in these like little carrots or triangles, I don't know, whatever, arrows. Student first name is in arrows here. This part here, student first name, it would actually say that. And I don't want it to say hello student underscore first name and then the student's name, which will be merged into those carrots. So I'm going to delete that part. So it's just going to say hello student first name. So it's going to populate the part in carrots with student first names. And then in class, we will be participating in a review game. Please do not share the following with anyone. Keep it a secret. If you want to win. Okay, and then I want the students to have both their topic and slide number. So I'm going to click on slide number and topic. And I'm going to put an enter, new line, new row. But this time I'm going to leave topic and slide number. And that's just going to, students will see that and then they'll know what to do for the assignment. So then I'm going to say, see you in class, Miss Hero. Okay, so that's my email to my students. I could have it translate if I want to another language. You have to know the translation code or the language code. Spanish, I believe, is ES, and so it would translate it down at the bottom into Spanish. So that's something you can do for some of your students, but you can only translate into one language, not into multiple. Now, I can click, I like to do save and preview just to kind of look at what an example would be. And so here would be to my student number 1, and it would say Great American Race, read but do not share. Hello, Samira. In class will be participating in a review game. Please do not share the following. Keep it a secret if you want to win. Topic, atmosphere, slide number 1. See you in class. So what it did is it filled in those carets with their actual email and their name. And I can view different rows, and I can see that it changes with student names and the topics, their slide numbers, etc. And if I go far enough, it will go to the next period. Actually, it's only going to row 20 right now because I'm just in like the preview part. But then I can click save and send all. I do not want to save and send all because these are all fake right now. And I don't want to send a bunch of fake emails and get a bunch of crazy responses back. But you'll notice that over here in the H column, it says this column is needed by the FormMule add-on. So right now, all these boxes are blank. That means that an email has not yet been sent to that student. If the box has something in it, it is going to not send an email. So I'm going to fill these in just personally for me right now as my sample. Do not do this. But if you don't want to send an email to someone for some reason, you can fill it in with something. And I'm going to put in this email address. I'm going to put my email address, my personal school email address, just so you can see what it looks like when it actually does send. So I'm going to go back up to add-ons, FormMule, and I can go to preview and send all, because that was the step that I was on. And here I have my preview with my info, and I can click send now. And it will only send 1,500 a day, because you can only send that much through a Google School account. But now you can see that an email was sent at 12:38:35 from my email to my email, but this would be to the student's email address. And what that email ends up looking like, if I click up here, I can give you a preview. So it's the same email that we saw. So this went to Samira, and it has all the info. Now it would send it to all my students. If for some reason you did put something in these boxes to block sending and you do then want to send it later, if you delete stuff and then click send, it would go back into add-ons and send the email. It would actually send it to the rest of these students. And so if you needed to send an email to this student again, Samira, because I already sent her an email, I could click on that, delete that, and rerun the merge. So that will send an email to all of the students. Then your students are ready to go, but you still have some steps that you need to do as a teacher to set this up. So we had the spreadsheet with the words. You also need to make a copy of the template slides. And once you make a copy of these template slides, you're going to say use template. You're going to add a subtitle. So this is the Great American Race, and this one is Biology Semester 1 Review. Those are the words that I used, or the topics. And then it has instructions for the students of what they're going to do. You'll go over this with the students. You're going to share this doc that you made a copy of. And you are going to change it to anyone with a link can edit. You're going to copy this link, and during class, you are going to share this link with your students. And they're all going to go to their individual slide that they were assigned in their email. So you need to tell the students to check their email. And then they're going to go to their slide. They're going to write 5 clues, important facts, information, explanations about their topic, and an image, but they can't use the actual topic on the slide because that would give it away. Then they're going to be paired up into groups, and they need to go through all of these slides and figure out what the topics are. So they're going to be reviewing the information and guessing what the topic is, and they are going to be filling out a Google form. And I'll show you that Google form in a minute. But they're going to be filling out that form with their responses, and the team with the most correct answers in the fastest time wins. I would give your students about 10 to 15 minutes to create their slides, and then put them into breakout rooms and share with them at that point the Google form. All right, so you need to, before class, create a copy of a Google form and then put your topics in it. So I'm going to click on a template Google form here. So Great American Race. And when I click on that, it's going to force me to make a copy of this template. Now, what you're going to do is up here where it says template, you can change it to like the topic. So mine was biology semester 1 review, and I can change that up in the title as well, so it's easier for me to find. Team number, determine how many teams you're going to have students in breakout rooms working on this together, and you can always edit and delete any or add any if you need more than 12 teams. Write down all the members of the group names that you can probably keep. This part here. So you're going to choose the correct answer for each slide. So this is where students are going to determine what the topic is of each slide. And so on the left, the rows are already filled out for you up to 34. If you had more students or less students, you could either add rows or delete rows. So however many is in the highest number of student class that you have. I'm using one form for all of my classes. And so some students just won't have anything for slide 35, for row 30, this row 35, slide 34. Now, I don't have my topics. The topics I left blank for you. What you're going to do is in your spreadsheet, where you placed all of your topics. So I'm going to highlight them, and I'm going to go up to, I'm just going to copy it once, so not the duplicates, but here's my biggest class of 34. So I'm going to copy that. So that's Control-C on a Chromebook or a PC, Command-C on a Mac, C as in cat, or copy. And then I'm going to go over to my spreadsheet, or sorry, my Google form. And right here where it says paste your columns here, you're going to delete what I wrote there, or if I clicked on it, notice how the whole thing turned blue. I want to make sure the whole thing is blue, or I just am going to delete it. Either way works. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Command-V on a Mac, or Control-V on a PC or on a Chromebook. So V is in Victor. When I do that, it pastes all of them in at once. Now, I have one less on this, and that's just because I didn't have a sample one on my spreadsheet. So I could have a sample like tertiary consumer. So I could add that in if I want to. Now, what I'm going to do is I already have this set up for you, but I did not require a response in each row, because if a group is not finished and class is over, they can't submit this. So I'm not going to force them to choose random answers. I'm just going to let them just submit it even if they don't have a response in each row if they didn't finish. So I'm leaving this off. These 3 dots over here, I did check the box to limit one response per column. So they can't like choose species 3 different times for 3 different slides. It's only used on one slide. So I'm leaving that for them. So now when I want to share this with my students, it's ready to go. I am going to press send. I'm going to click on the hyperlink, the chain link icon here. I like to shorten the URL, so it's just a smaller link. And then I'm going to copy this. And then that's what I'm going to send to students through the chat, through a breakout room, or before they go into breakout rooms, or it could be in your learning management system in Canvas or Google Classroom, etc. But here I have Great American Race Biology Semester 1 review. Students are going to fill out their team number, and that's just their breakout room number. Then they're going to write down all the names of everyone in their group. One thing that I would add, actually, I forgot to do this, and I'll add this to the template, is what class period it is, because if I'm using this for multiple class periods, I want to be able to sort by class period in my Google spreadsheet that comes from this. But then students will be able to choose their different topics. And notice that when I click on something chloroplast twice, it outlines it in red, and it will say, please don't select more than one response per column. And students can click it again to unclick it or choose a different one in that row, and then they can submit. I can't physically submit this right now because I haven't answered this question. Here we go. So now when I press submit, the students do have the opportunity to submit another response. I only want one student per team to submit this. And so they would pick one person as kind of like their team leader filling this out. But I can go into responses now, and I can see what answers they chose. And what you could potentially do is set up this after students are done as a graded form, and you can go into, into the settings gear, quizzes. You can make this a quiz, and you could have it where it will calculate the points for you. I wouldn't do this until after students have all finished this, and maybe give them the results the next day if you wanted to, just because some students have figured out a way to get into like the coding and see the answers in advance while they're taking the quiz. So you might want to wait on doing that, or you can open up the spreadsheet and you can go through. So when it collects answers in the Google form, it will have a spreadsheet here, and you can see all their different answers for, like, this is for the sample slide, this is for slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4. You can even do something where, let's say that atmosphere was the correct answer in this column. You can set up conditional formatting, which is a little extra work on your end, but it could make this a little easier, where you will go to conditional formatting and format the cells. If the text is exactly atmosphere, it will turn green. And let's say that they answered biosphere here. Notice that it doesn't turn green. So anytime a student marked it as atmosphere, it will turn green. So you could go through this and set up conditional formatting with the correct answers if you wanted to do that. That is completely up to you. One thing that you might want to do, I did actually, when I put my answers into my topics, it is alphabetical by first letter. You don't want to tell the students that, but they might start to notice a pattern with slide 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So maybe you want to change this up where this is not in alphabetical order before you even send it out to students, so that they do not just randomly guess. So however I copied this into the answer sheet, if it's the same order, the students might notice that even if it's not in alphabetical order. So maybe switch this up before you send it to the students. That might be a good tip.